Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, this is Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And despite all of those people out there trying to use Doctor Who to push their own personal political agenda, despite all of their gnashing of teeth saying that Doctor Who is the best it's ever been, and despite Russell T Davies flat out admitting that he decided to sacrifice the entire franchise on the altar of his own agenda-driven storytelling, well, needless to say, boys and girls, anybody that's been watching this kind of dumpster fires go down in flames for any length of time knew this thing was going to go in one direction and one direction only. And despite media and despite so many outlets out there holding out hope beyond hope that Disney might come in and save this thing and might continue on with the not-so-secret gay agenda being pushed inside of Disney Doctor Who by Russell T Davies and all of his insane storytelling, well, guess what? Another Doctor Who insider is coming out and saying, boys and girls, this show is toast. It is canceled. You are not going to see the likes of it ever again. And even if they do ever bring it back, it will be with a full reboot, a full rehash, and a full new team, because Go Woke, Go Broke exists for a reason, and Whovians are tired of you using one of our favorite IPs out there to do nothing more than push your agenda, and now you're going to get exactly what you deserve, because, ladies and gentlemen, woke Doctor Who is canceled, and there is no word whatsoever of anything coming anytime down the pipeline. And the guy in here, the insider they quote themselves, who has been extensively working inside of Doctor Who for years, said the show is effectively canceled. So yes, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, every single one of you out there who was sick and tired of seeing this kind of garbage interjected into a family-friendly show, take a victory lap, because you have killed Doctor Who. And it took nothing more than you simply deciding, hey, this wasn't for me, and I didn't watch it. So congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Whovians unite, because we have killed the evil version of Doctor Who that tried to destroy our beloved franchise and IP. I mean, just sweet, just desserts, right? Boys and girls. So we're going to check out this article, but obviously we've got a couple of other things over here. Obviously, we've got some of the reasons as to why Doctor Who is dead. And of course, Variety, Deadline themselves admitting that the ratings are in an absolute disastrous dumpster fire, worse even than under the Jodie Whittaker era, ladies and gentlemen. So that's how you know this show is done for. So we're going to check out these articles, getting all of the juicy details, let you know exactly what is going on. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2K. We're sailing our way towards 2,100. I think we're like 2045, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Are you one of those spirit of the age possessed people out there who just love this new version of Doctor Who and thinks it's the bestest ever? Who's going to cry and whine and is still holding out hope after hope that this show is going to come back despite all of the truth and actual verity of all of it? Or do you believe, like so many of the rest of us out there, that this thing is going to be nothing more than a disastrous dumpster fire? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from IGN.com. This isn't from Bounding Into Comics. This isn't from That Park Place. This isn't from Cosmic Book News. This isn't from Name Your Other Favorite. Well, they're just a bunch of haters news website. No, this is IGN, boys and girls, and it does not get more legacy than IGN. Doctor Who Insider says nothing is commissioned and nothing is guaranteed. So guess what? Doctor Who's not going forward. It's going to take a regeneration before we see this thing come back. as show remains in limbo months after finale airs. I don't get the sense of much optimism for anything very soon. I wonder why. Doctor Who could remain off air for the rest of the decade, a notable insider has suggested, as concerns grow over the long-running show's immediate future. That's according to Tom Spilsbury. Now, why should we listen to Tom Spilsbury? Is Tom Spilsbury just some random person out there on Reddit spewing out their nonsense, claiming to have inside information? Oh no, Tom Spilsbury has a pedigree. A journalist and writer with close ties to the show's production, who previously served as editor of the officially licensed Doctor Who magazine for more than a decade, ladies and gentlemen. Methinks you might know a few people inside of the company over there. Writing on the fan forum, Gallifrey Base, Spilsbury said that while he expected Doctor Who to return at some point, I guess some point could be what, the 25-year hiatus we got back in the 90s, right? At some point, I don't know about you, but to anybody working on the show, anybody that's involved in the writer's room, anybody that's part of the sets, that's canceled because you ain't got a job no more. Spilsbury said that while he expected Doctor Who to return at some point, fans should adjust their expectations for its immediate future. Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. As the wait for official news on the series, Disney's co-funding deal renewal drags on. Yeah, Disney's broke. They're not going to say anything. This ain't coming back. So what does he have to say about it? He says, I suspect the show will indeed come back at some point, but as of right now, nothing is commissioned and nothing is guaranteed. Those are the facts. The facts, boys and girls. Nothing is commissioned and nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is commissioned. If this thing was just such the roaring success with this target audience, they claim their metrics have them wanting to hit, claims that their marketing has them wanting to hit, why wouldn't they have already greenlit this? Oh, that's right, because it's not actually hitting the targets that in order to make money, i.e., the majority of the audience. With over more than 100 issues with DWN, Spilsbury repeatedly interviewed key figures within the show's production and separately worked with BBC to record audio commentaries for broadcaster's Doctor Who DVD range. And now, based on his knowledge of the show, Spilsbury said the fans should prepare themselves. Everything is moving much more slowly in television at the moment. We're literally getting years between seasons of things that used to never take that long. We also are now only getting, 6-10 episode seasons where we used to get 20-25 episode seasons in a single year? Yeah, needless to say, I don't think television knows what it's doing anymore. On the assumption that Disney doesn't renew before its option officially expires, which I would say is a pretty fair assumption to make at this point, that will be the point where the BBC can start to shop the show around. And we don't even have an official, it's not public knowledge as to when Disney's actual cutoff is for this. It could be 6 months, it could be a year from now. All that does is push it how much farther out it'll take to get that. So that it's going to be, it could be a year before BBC can even start to shop it around. And if a rumor can be true, they've already tried that and no one is interested. And that process can take a fair bit of time. It may require more than one partner to raise the money needed. Hollywood in general is broke, and the BBC is part of that. Potential partners may have some very specific requirements or stipulations. Oh, you mean kind of like the alleged rumors about Disney that if they did renew this, they wanted Russell T Davies and everybody else completely and totally sacked that was involved in the production process and all the writing. Also, they wanted to choose the next Doctor. I wonder why they wanted to do that, considering the fact that the show never once rated on the Nielsen charts in the United States, even on its premieres. They may need to go back to people who they turned down last time. Maybe like actual Doctor Who fans. Have you noticed how more productions need multiple backers just to make them viable these days? Yes, the BBC could go for the ultra cheap in-house version of the show, but I really don't think that's as viable as an option as it used to be. The license fee hasn't kept up with inflation over the past few years. And it's so funny too, because there was a lot of cope out there from some of the spirit of the age possessed Doctor Who fans out there, right? Some of those neo Doctor Who fans. Well, they'll just go in-house. It'll still go on. It'll just be drastically cut down. They'll do it just like they did back in the day. This is a guy who knows the industry, flat out saying that is not an option anymore. The BBC is broke too, and they can't afford it. Not to mention, it just wouldn't work in a sci-fi show these days either, boys and girls. I'm not saying things will definitely turn out this way. I just think people need to adjust their expectations about how long this will take. And he's right. And honestly, he's right. He's right. It is going to turn out this way. It is going to be years, if not a decade, if not more, before we ever see any version of Doctor Who. And Disney, Neo, Russell T. Davies, agenda-driven Doctor Who is dead. It is over. It is not coming back. And praise be the Lord in heaven for that. As I've always said, Doctor Who might not be officially canceled, but for now, the absence of a commission essentially amounts to the same thing. Exactly. Not canceled is just, we don't have any plans at this time. That's just their way of avoiding headlines. It says, Doctor Who is canceled, confirms BBC. Because they don't want that kind of headline. They don't want that kind of backlash. But if you're not commissioning another season of a show, that means you canceled the show. It might be a pocket veto, but it's still a veto, right? It's still a cancellation. If you don't renew something, it's still canceled, right? Because you're no longer carrying forward with that. If I decide not to renew my subscription, guess what? I'm not going to carry on with that subscription. So that's a very nice way of me saying, I'll carry on with your services for now, but I don't want them anymore. It's just you probably have such an outrageous fee for me to actually cancel that I can't do that. And of course, BBC would never allow one of their IPs to get out of their hands either. The absence of a commission essentially amounts to the same thing. I'm sure that a commission will come at some point, but the longer it takes, the more likely that it will be a show that will return as a completely reimagined relaunch, i.e., agenda, politically correct driven Doctor Who is canceled. And maybe that would be a good thing. Well, I think all of us can agree with it being a good thing, of course, except for Russell T. Davies, who thinks shoving all of his LGBT propaganda political agenda into it makes it perfectly safe for children to watch. Boy, I wonder with an attitude like that running a show while families don't trust it anymore. But it's not just that. It would be a good thing. And the audiences agree, right? Why? Because not only does the showrunner, Russell T. Davies, says we haven't heard anything either, but the ratings line up with that. And even Deadline has to admit that. Absolutely has to admit that. Deadline has analyzed official 7-day viewings figures for season 15. And it does not make easy reading for those involved in Doctor Who. The season averaged 3.2 million views over its 8 episodes, which was half a million viewers down from last season. It's only gotten worse. Literally, the ratings have only gotten worse since the Jodie Whittaker era. And the Russell T. Davies era coming back with Disney Doctor Who and Nakuti Gatwa has only gotten worse from there. The season averaged 3.2 million viewers over its 8th episode, which is a 500,000 viewers down from last season. God was first as the Doctor, which even people willing to give him a shot and show up and didn't have a problem with all the agenda, even they tuned out as the first season. He couldn't keep them as the Doctor, and that's Davies' fault. And even comparing it to the Jodie Whittaker area, compare it to season 15. Things get grimmer. Season 13, 2 seasons ago, was pulled in 1.7 million more views, average 4.9. That's compared to Dr. Karen. Deadline has used viewership numbers from Barb, the UK's official ratings body. They include on-demand and streaming viewing on television, but are not the full picture. Broadcaster streamers prefer to use 28-day figures, which provide a more conclusive overview. Nonetheless, 7-day viewers are usually directional, and the pattern of decline will likely be reflected in Doctor Who's final ratings. And yeah, it's literally the worst ratings in the 60-year history of the show. So the guy's right. The show's canceled. Is Doctor Who canceled? No, because the IP still exists. But this version of Doctor Who, this series of Doctor Who, this LGBTQ, it's the gayest Doctor Who ever, as our favorite reporter over Variety would tell you, is canceled. It's over. The show's done. It had the worst ratings in the history of Doctor Who ever. It did nothing more than push a political agenda right from the 60-year anniversary history BS garbage, and now you see where it's gotten you. The worst part is I feel bad for all of, honestly, to a certain degree, even the actors, not the ones who have decided to come out and talk trash on all the fans, but, all the people in the background, you were just there for a paycheck. You weren't the ones in charge of the writing. You weren't in charge of the directing, especially the people on the sets. People making the sets, trying to make the show look as beautiful as possible, doing a good job. The costumers, you didn't make the creative choices. It's not your fault you're out of a job. It's not your fault the show you worked on was canceled, but it is. And all of you cult members out there, all of you little, doctor, I don't know, you came up with some new gay version of Doctor Who fans instead of going with the traditional Whovian that we've all known and loved for generations. But either way, you neo Doctor Who fans, you're the reason that this happened. And even if you were fans of this before, if you were okay with it going in this agenda because you agreed with this agenda, well, guess what? It's your fault too. And you caused this because instead of asking them to stick with a good traditional sci-fi time-traveling story that all Whovian fans have known and loved for over 60 years, you instead sat quietly while they destroyed your favorite show because you agreed with the agenda, because you were LGBTQ, because you were a minority. Well, where has that gotten you? Absolutely nothing. The show is over. Doctor Who is canceled. Russell T Davies, the BBC, and all of you woke Disney Doctor Who fans have danced with the devil, and now you have gotten burned. Doctor Who, as you knew it, is over. And hopefully, maybe in a generation or two, it can come back as the Doctor Who that all the fans knew and loved for 50 years, that we all fell in love with. But at the end of the day, Neo Doctor Who is canceled, and it's exactly what they deserve. After all, they did it to themselves.